Hey, Metal Rock and Whiskey family, it's Sailor here. Tonight we sit down and have a dram or five with a very special guest, Ms. Britt Lightning. Britt is lead guitarist for the band Vixen. You know, that all-female rock band from the 80s that kicked the shit out of the glass ceiling and is still rocking today? Yeah, that's the one. Britt is also from my adopted hometown of Boston, and as a matter of fact, we definitely partied in the same places back in the day. It's just that I can't remember it. Anyway, sit back, relax, maybe pour a dram of whiskey as we talk to Britt about her love of whiskey, a really special project she's part of, and how she made one hell of a career for herself, rocking out with her guitar. Well, hello, everybody. We're back, and I'm not the only woman in the room tonight. Yay!
Definitely not.
The odds are even.
Yes, they are. You guys are screwed. So right off the bat, I want to introduce you guys to our friend Britt Lightning. She is joining us tonight from my old hometown and her old hometown, Boston, Massachusetts, best city in the world.
Woo!
Rock City. And we kind of go way back in a way, we found out. So, because, it's Boston, and that's how Boston works. So Britt is also a whiskey fan, so we're going to talk a lot about whiskey and a lot about music. And if you guys don't know who she is, you're going to find out.
Love it. Thanks for having me, guys. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you.
Glad to have you.
Good job, Matt.
Thank you. I do good things every once in a while.
Once in a while.
Yeah, every once in a while.
You around.
Just when you're ready to fire me, I do something good.
Yes, you're right on the edge there.
Yes.
I'll tell you, right on the edge.
Living on the edge, Matt.
Yeah.
What a bump. How many of those are we going to do tonight? So right off the bat, I think we should talk about whiskey because Matt and I had the opportunity to put together a super fun little goodie box for Britt and put some yummies in there. I found out that you are a tiki lover, so of course I had to make you some tiki cocktail mix.
I know. I love that. And I even got the umbrella. It's so cute. That's amazing.
But these tiki drinks you're going to make with whiskey. And it's going to unlock a whole other world. So I love putting whiskey in my tiki cocktail. So, brown spirits works beautifully. So I'm excited for you to enjoy those. And then we sent you samples from our friends.
I know. So I'm about to drink one right now. So which should I start with?
Let's see. So Matt and I were going over the list of what we think we remember sending you. So if you have some... Did we send you Few, F-E-W?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me find it. I did see that one.
I think that would be a good one to start
yes,
with.
the rye.
Yes. Are you typically a rye lover or liker?
You know what? No, but recently I started drinking. I've been digging this one recently. So I was just saying to Sailor earlier, I'm not in front of my bar because I'm actually traveling right now, but I did bring all my favorite whiskeys here. But I've been drinking this lately and I really like it. So hold on, I've got this I'm going to have to finish this so that I can pour the Few in here. So hold on. Okay. So, all right, here we go.
That was
And what
quick.
are you drinking, Ed? I got to know what you're drinking because you have such the array behind you.
I have something very special I picked out for tonight, and I want to wait till we get to our whiskey segment to reveal it because there's a few layers to it.
Okay, good. That's exciting.
I think we're in the whiskey segment, aren't we?
Are we?
I think we
I'm
are.
drinking.
Okay.
I think we are.
Oh, this is nice. This is different.
So another fellow rocker, the distiller's name is Paul Letko, and he is in a Chicago suburb, and he makes some gorgeous whiskey. His bourbon's phenomenal. He's got an amazing single malt, but his rye is like out of this world. So
The rye is amazing. It has such a smooth finish, and it's kind of like, it's almost like, I don't want to say it. I don't know. It's almost earthy a little. It's really, I love it. That's really good.
awesome. Yay. All right. So first one's a winner. So that's good. We did a good job. We love what Paul does. So I'm glad you
Since
enjoyed
Brooke
it.
did ask
Friend
what
of
I
the
was
show.
drinking,
Yeah.
I will, I'll let her pause and give her palate a rest for a second
Okay.
before she goes to her next one. I am drinking a very special bottle I got here recently. Do you remember last year there was a giant rickhouse collapse? It was all over national news. This giant rickhouse collapsed and all the barrels spilled out, and at the Barton Distillery in Kentucky. But anyway,
You did not.
some of the surviving barrels
Bastard.
got bottled, and they were picked by a good friend of the show, Chrissy Martin, who helped us actually get our start here. And these barrels went through Blue Note Juke Joint. It's called Blue Note Juke Joint whiskey, which is cool because it's got like the body of a guitar on there. And also they got a name for this series. It's called Wrecking Ball series. And as we all know, before Miley Cyrus had a song called Wrecking Ball, there was another little band that had a song called Wrecking Ball.
It is so true. And actually, we haven't played that song in a while, and we just added it to the set list for our next gig.
Sweet, because
Nice.
I like
There
that
you go.
song. That song's a great song, man.
Great song.
So that's what I'm drinking tonight, and it is 119.3 proof. It's uncut, unfiltered, straight from the barrel. So I will be drinking this very slowly,
All right.
or else I will
Love
start
it.
divulging secrets that probably shouldn't be divulged.
Stephanie. Oh my God. That's funny. Well, I'm super jealous you're drinking that, Ed. I need to try and see if I can grab a bottle.
You need to
of
hit
this.
up Chrissy.
Yeah,
I'm almost
I need to hit up
positive that when that actually happened, we talked about it on the show.
Chrissy. Oh yeah,
And
we
we
did.
Oh
And
yeah,
we-
for sure.
We were
did.
saying that it's only a matter of time before they bottle this stuff.
Yes.
And here we are.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was insane. That was it was a multi-tier collapse because it finished collapsing like a while later when they were already trying to dismantle it. And thank God nobody was hurt, but that was a lot of barrels, man. That was those pictures. If you Google it, it's just insane. Yeah, the pictures are nuts. What about you, Matt? What are you drinking tonight?
Oh, so I could only think of one thing to drink for this episode, and that is my commemorative Motorhead Hill Rock bottle.
Nice.
So they have a music series where they pair, they work with different musicians, usually in rock and metal. So their first release was a Motorhead Ace of Spades 40th anniversary release, which is what I'm drinking right now. So pretty cool. I know that right now Scott Ann from Anthrax is there, and he's picking barrels for the Anthrax release. But this is like Ed's uncut, unfiltered single barrel, and super delicious. I know I've gotten in pretty deep with them on this show before. Huge fan.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Is that the same company that makes the Metallica one, Blackened? Is that what it is? Or is it the
No.
No, different.
Blacken's its own thing, which Sailor has like half a dozen bottles of up there.
Oh, yeah.
I do. As a matter of fact, so my husband and I get one on our anniversary every year because this is what we drank when was I telling this story? I was telling the story recently that so we just went to this little chapel in this town up in the Pacific Northwest, and it was just the two of us with our photographer and his wife and a justice of the peace, and the justice of the peace was like, "Oh yeah, I don't drink anymore," because whiskey came up. And when we walked in the chapel, it's not like a church anymore. And it smelled like coffee. I'm like, oh, why is it smell like coffee in here? And it didn't. I looked over, and on like the podium, they had like the AA banner hanging, and I was like, oh shit, they have AA meetings here, which is great. And so I was like taking all the AA stuff down, and so we had our bottle of Blackened at the podium, and that was our dram that we took right after we said I do. So we get a new bottle every year on our anniversary, and so that's what I chose to drink tonight.
Love it.
It's a little bit of Blackened, and so I'm not drinking the new one. The 114 is what we just got, the latest release. I'm drinking from 100.
Okay, so Matt, your next assignment is to get Rob Dietrich.
Yes.
We almost had him. I don't know what happened, but we almost had him.
Almost.
Reel him in. So yeah. So we also sent you Westland, which is an American single malt, which is killer.
Yes.
And they're out of Seattle. They are just phenomenal. Super young distillery. He actually started distilling before he was even 21. He's like a distilling genius. That one is really beautiful. Very different from the bourbon, very different from the rye. I don't know if you like Scotch at all, but it'll remind you a little bit of a Highland Scotch.
I was just drinking Lefroy with a cigar yesterday.
Wow.
With my dad.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's really good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you like the
excellent.
smoky stuff, the
I
smoky
do,
peaty
I
stuff.
do.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Matt,
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Man.
None for me.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not
Sarah
a
and
girl.
I
these two don't.
Nope.
stay away from that.
Nope, can't do it. Can't do the super smoky.
I have
Lefroy
tried.
with a Macanudo cigar. That's what we
There
were
you go.
doing.
Well, I think with a cigar, that would probably help. I should try that sometime. I should try to do some of your smoky shit, Matt, but with a cigar. Because maybe it wouldn't be so shocking to my palate. I just have a really sensitive palate. I'm kind of one of the super tasters. So when you taste everything in such an exuberant way, things can just overwhelm you right away. And that's what, especially, there's just the Band-Aid that I can't get around. It's like this Band-Aid taste.
I think I've numbed all my taste buds off maybe with too much whiskey. I'll drink anything now.
Yeah.
I love it. So tell us about your journey to whiskey, to being whiskey lover.
Okay, well, I think it all started when I got into rock and roll, right? I picked up the guitar because of Van Halen, and it's like Jack Daniels everywhere, you know what I mean? Michael Anthony bass and everything. And just seeing all my idols, all these rock icons with Jack Daniels bottles. I mean, that iconic photo of Jimmy Page, backstage drinking. The Stones have pictures with it. I mean, everybody was drinking Jack Daniels, Sinatra, So I just thought that was so cool. And if you were going to be a cool rock star, like that was pretty much part of it. So I started drinking whiskey and I loved it. But I started with Jack Daniels. And then I think but I didn't just drink it to get drunk. I actually enjoyed it. And then once I learned about there's bourbons and there's scotches and ryes and all these different brands. And I really began to appreciate it. So that's but Jack Daniels started me off.
That's
Me
such a
too.
popular
That was my
gateway. We
yeah.
were on with the distiller of another sample you have, Widow Jane. And so Ed asked her last week and he said, what was your first whiskey that got you into whiskey? And she said, Jack Daniels.
Yeah. But currently on the Vixen rider, it's Maker's 46.
Oh, I like it.
Okay.
Solid
Very
stuff.
nice.
Good stuff.
I like that for it's just so smooth. And then we do a toast. I got everybody in the band to do, even though most of the girls don't even like whiskey. They're like, okay, well, just pour me a tiny bit. We do like a little whiskey toast right before every show. And Roxy can't do the Jack Daniels. She says it burns her throat. So we moved to the Maker's 46. I'm going to try this, the Widow Jane. So what did you say about Widow Jane?
So it's the 10-year, and that's from New York. They're in Brooklyn, but they source their water from an old mine in upstate New York. So it's this beautiful New York lime water. So it has this really unique taste to it. And I just love the complexity of that Widow Jane 10.
Oh, wow. I definitely, as soon as you said lime, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, definitely more citrusy than I would expect.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous expression. And Lisa Wicker is the distiller, and she's just a rock star of whiskey. So we thought that would be apropos to put in your kit there.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Very different. Very different.
So I was reading a little bit. So as I was, looking you up online, and then realized, God, she looks so familiar. I remember her. And then I asked my girls, and they're like, oh yeah, don't you? And they started telling me all these things that had happened. And I'm like, God, I don't remember that, but that doesn't mean anything. I was probably drinking, okay. And they were like, and then they were like, I don't know if they were there for the Fuck the Kells thing or not, or it was around that time. And I'm like, and that's when I kind of remembered. So when I was like, okay, well, what has she been doing since then? And I looked you up. I mean, you've done some really incredibly interesting things. And it was nice to hear the girls immediately were like, oh, great technical guitarist. And again, they're as old as I am. So us remembering things is really hard. But just super interesting projects. You toured with a Grammy award-winning Spanish musician and composer for several years. I mean, how did that happen?
Yeah, that was amazing. That was an incredible time, incredible tour. I had my band Jaded out of Boston that I did for 10 years. And then we always had lead singer problems, though. We were always changing out our lead singer. I don't know. It's LSD, you can't, it's so hard. They're tough. They are so tough. No, but so finally, when the very last lead singer we had was giving us some trouble, I was just done. I was fed up with it, and I was complaining to a friend of mine, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I'm so sick of it. I just want to play guitar and not deal with all this other stuff. Because I was, booking the band and doing a lot of stuff. And he goes, well, why don't you just audition and be a guitar player for hire, audition for other bands. And then all you have to do is show up and plug in and play guitar. That's all you do. I'm like, really? I can do that? I don't have to have a whole band and go through all this band drama every day. And so he was like, Lady Gaga has an open audition. You should go. It's in New York, and you can just go and show up and just, I don't know, try it. And so I had never auditioned before, and it was super scary. And I made it to through one round to the next callback, to the next callback. I almost made it. It was between me and this one other guitar player. At the end of the day. Yeah, at the end of the day, he got it. And so then I'm like, I'm so depressed. Maybe I shouldn't even play guitar. This isn't even for me. But then about 6 months or so later, I got a call from somebody that had seen me at the audition and was friends with Alejandro, the Spanish artist that you were mentioning, and said, yeah, he's looking for a female guitar player. And I just remembered you from the Gaga auditions. So, if you want to audition, let me know. Here's a YouTube of the guy. And I looked him up, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. He's amazing. So, yeah, that's how that happened. So you don't get one thing. You never know. You never know who's watching. You never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So was that the Alejandro?
Yes. From
Lady Gaga?
No, but you know what was funny? It came out at the same time. That's when that happened. So I was like, wow, the stars are really aligned.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it made me think there for a second.
Time too. I was like, wow, this is fate. Foreshadowing.
Totally. So do you have classical training? Did you go to school, or did you just...
No, I didn't. I took a few lessons and just I learned a couple chords. I learned the pentatonic scale, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm ready to rock. That's all I need. I don't have the patience for this. I don't care about learning anything else. I can play, but honestly, Metallica, is really what I learned on, and that's kind of what got me in my first band. I was playing Metallica songs in a Daddy's Junkie Music. Remember that store?
Yes, I do.
That music store.
Yes.
And I think I was I don't know. Maybe I was playing Blackened. No, I don't think so. But I was playing some Metallica song, and then that's how. And the store manager was like, "We need a guitar player. You're awesome, and we sound like Metallica. Do you want to join the band? We have a tour coming up." So that's actually how I got my first gig.
Wow.
My first touring gig when I was like about 16. So
Nice.
So Metallica kicked off your career. Metallica is actually what kicked off this podcast too, as well.
really,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
wow. See, yeah.
Great story.
Wow. But yeah, so I was like, I can play the Metallica songs. I don't need lessons. I don't know what I'm playing, but I can play them. But I basically learned everything by ear. So it was, Van Halen and Metallica. Those were my biggest teachers.
Great place to start.
Yeah.
Very, very much so.
Great teachers.
And it definitely sets you up to join the band that you're in now.
Mhm.
I mean, what a perfect setup, right, for a band like Vixen. How did that happen?
Yeah, so I moved to LA about 6 years ago, and I had finished another tour. It was after Alejandro, then I did another tour, and then I went out there without a gig and just kind of was winging it. But I just knew that I was ready for the palm trees and the eternal sunshine and to get out of the Boston weather.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started playing the jams. They have a really cool jam scene. You know, it's like every night there's a jam at the Whiskey, there's a jam at the Viper Room, you know, and so you can just go, and it's really easy to network and meet other musicians. And so that's kind of how I got started when I moved there. And I joined an all-female Guns N' Roses tribute band when I first got there.
I saw that.
And so I was playing a gig with them at the Lucky Strike in Hollywood, and it was a pre-party for the Monsters of Rock cruise. And the manager of Vixen also he puts on the Monsters of Rock cruises. So he was there, and so that's how that happened. So he saw me there, and he was like, "Oh, should be a good fit."
Yeah. Great.
He was right too.
Yeah, exactly.
You're always in the right place at the right time.
Oh my
Been
God.
lucky. I've been
Lucky,
lucky.
yeah.
So what has the experience been like for you? I'll tell, I mean, to be honest, I didn't even realize Vixen was still together and touring. And I mean, I also am kind of one of those people that's like, oh, my music period is done, so fuck all music. You know, like my music was the best music. And I keep, you know, coming back to a lot of bands that either have been touring and I just didn't know, or are touring. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, this is so fantastic. What has it been like for you to play? I mean, so who's original still from Vixen? I guess I should ask first.
Sure. Roxy Petrucci, the
Right.
drummer, and Cher Ross, the bass player.
Okay.
And when I joined the band, Janet Gardner was singing, the original lead singer. And then a couple of years ago, she wanted to pursue a solo project with her husband. So she's doing that. And we have Lorraine Lewis, who is, you know, an OG of rock and roll of that era, lead singer of Femme Fatale. So she's such a badass. And so it's,
awesome.
it's a really fun. And so we play some Femme songs in the set too.
Oh,
so
that's
fun.
super
Oh,
fun.
cool.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
really awesome. So what's that like for you? Because I mean, I would imagine you were like me, you know, like that was the band, you know, at the time. I mean, I know you're a bit younger than me, but you know,
But it was for me too. It was for me too, because I started Eddie Van Halen, right? So even though I grew up in the grunge era, I was listening to Van Halen, and then I'm like, I don't want to play Kurt Cobain guitar. Like that is so boring.
Thank
So
God.
I started listening to all the hair bands. I was into Motley Crue, I was into Poison, and then Vixen and then Lita were like the two girls of that era that I was. So I loved Vixen, and so so it's pretty awesome to be a part of it. Amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I think that I want to make sure that I underline the point and put several exclamation marks behind it that, you know, so the band was originally founded in 1980 and then would become, there was a band before that and became Vixen in 1980. I mean, they're just not only, and I know we've talked about this several times on the show, but I still have this conversation and I hear people go, really? And I'm like, yeah, fucking really. There wasn't a lot of women in rock. And I mean, the women in rock that were there weren't treated well, didn't get the same opportunities. We're seen as like, oh, you know, like our friends, the title song of our podcast, our friends in When Particles Collide is female fronted band. And they have a t-shirt that says pretty good for a girl. And it has for a girl X'd out, you know, just pretty good is enough. Thank you. So to see a band like Vixen be as big as they were, especially back then, it was so important to me as a girl who, you know, I didn't ever have a career in music, but I played and sang, and not very well. You know, it was important to me though to see women like that, you know, as kind of heroes, and to see them still, you know, the band still alive and going, and then bringing in, you know, new talent. And it's just so important. And I know that you're involved with the rock camp. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Please tell us a little bit about that, because it's so inspiring.
Yeah, so Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp is amazing, and I became involved with it as a counselor. I'd always heard about it, had a lot of friends that were involved in it, and so I was like, what is this? And I finally did a bunch of research and got in touch with David Fishoff, and so I did one of my first camps a little while before COVID, and it was awesome. And it's like, it's this life-changing thing where people come in, you know, some of them have never played on stage before. Anybody can join. It doesn't matter your skill level, your age, anything. And you join a band for 4 days, you jam with a rock star counselor. So I was one of the counselors. And then you get to jam. We prepare you to jam on stage at a live venue for the public, on stage with one of your musical heroes like Paul Stanley or, you know, Joe Perry. And we have all these camps coming up. We just started relaunching the live camps, and now I'm the musical director for the camps. And it's amazing to see the transformations that people go through, and how music, you know, is so emotional on so many different levels and affects people differently. And I mean, you can have, and it's funny too, because there's this one guy that was having trouble with a song, and he's like, I don't know why I can't just play the D, A, E. I don't know why it's so hard for me. And the guy, he's actually a rocket scientist for NASA. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know why you can't do that either, because you can do everything else. But like, that was his dream, to just be able to do that. Right. So it's interesting to see, you know, people from different places and different backgrounds. And, but we have a women's only rock camp that we launched, and, you know, that's the first time we've ever done that. And it's going to be this upcoming January. And there still aren't that many not all female, but female rockers in general, because I was trying to come up with a list of who to have at the camp. And it's like, wow, you know, it's a limited list. Yes. If you look at it, I mean, still it's crazy, but the camp's going to be amazing. We have Melissa Etheridge, we have Nancy Wilson, we have Orianthi, we have Kathy Valentine and the Go-Go's. And we have a huge array of amazing counselors like Eva Gardner, who plays for Pink, Rhonda Smith, played with Jeff Beck and Prince. Just so many amazing people. Roxy, my drummer, I'm going to be there.
I need to sign up. Damn it!
I know you should go. You should go.
Oh my God, that'd be so amazing.
I wish I could send my daughters to that. I have one in particular who played the guitar, but she's always been too nervous to play in front of people.
Okay, that was me. I played in my bedroom for so long with the door shut. My parents were like, "What are you doing in there? Like, can we come in and can we see what you're doing?" And I was like, "No." And I had severe stage fright. And actually, that is part of the reason why I have always drank whiskey before a set. Always. I've never gotten drunk before a set, but it just takes the edge off. I've always done that. And if I don't do that, I'm like, I don't think I've ever not done that, but the thought of not doing it is very scary.
Well, that becomes your ritual too. I mean, we all have our rituals before I perform in a different way now. I talk about whiskey for a living and spirits, and so it's different, but still when you get up in front of people, there's a little ritual that you do, and that's super important. Yeah. I love that you're doing the all female. There's so many reasons why things like that are so important and why they work better. As I'm sure you know, the research behind all of that. You know, there is a couple of groups that were formed in whiskey for just women initially. Men are welcome to join, but they have to understand that, you know, the focus is on women. And it changed everything. The minute that these groups were formed and you could sit with other women, and these women engaged more. They said, you know, I would have never gone to a whiskey tasting before. I've been a secret whiskey lover for so long, but because it wasn't approachable to them, or, you know, they had an experience where they got mansplained, let's just say in their life in general. And, you know, it seems like it's a drink for men. It seems like it's a drink for white people, for white old men, you know, and so more diversity came into the industry because of that. It just became more approachable. And I think especially for for younger women too, it's so important to be among other women and know that you're in a nurturing environment. And so, I mean, you're doing the good work with that big time.
Thank you. Thanks for saying so. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I do, think, I mean, we did over COVID master classes through Zoom with Rockstars, and we tested it with Lita. We did a women's only class with Lita, and it was like the fastest selling out master class that we did. And it was awesome. And we talked about everything because it's like, there was no, you didn't, you could say anything. Not that we wouldn't say anything in front of you guys. I mean, we would.
No, but still, it's different. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's different. Speaking of Lita, you guys toured with Wasp. Did I read that right somewhere?
Yes. Yeah. We did. That was a lot of fun.
I bet you have a lot of stories.
I do.
I actually, a very dear friend of mine who was from Boston, and this is millions and millions of years ago, was a roadie for Wasp for a long, long time. And he would do road work for other bands, and he was road crew manager for a while and then went back with them. And I remember him saying, we were all back in Boston, like around the holidays, and he's like, you guys, man, I've seen a lot of bands. I've been with a lot of bands. And it's all, he never said, and said a story, but he would just say, this band. And then he would just shake his head and drink. And I'm like, I want to know, tell me. He would say it every time. And we're like, we need to know.
Oh, what happens on the road stays on the road.
Right. Oh my God, I love it. Well, so I think we have another whiskey sample for you, right? I think you have 291.
I do. I have a 291 rye. All right.
So this is a small batch rye, and this is a Colorado whiskey. This is pretty high proof, so just be prepared for that.
Okay.
But it's a newer distiller. They've been around for about 10 years. Really wonderful brand, beautiful story, really delicious whiskey. If you're ever going through Colorado Springs, look them up and tell them I sent you. Just a kick-ass story. The brand was started by an artist who left New York City right after 9/11. He was a fashion photographer and just created his first whiskey still out of his photograph plates, his copper plates, and just taught himself how to make whiskey. And here he is 10 years later with highly awarded whiskey. So it's a really great story.
Wow. It's really good. I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean it in a good way. Like when you have your favorite crayon scent, and I love the smell of leather, and this almost has like a little leathery taste to it. And it smells, it's really good.
Oh, he would love to hear that. So it's all, his vibe is like that, Colorado cowboy. So, they use aspen staves from local aspen trees. And so it's very earthy. It's very gritty. It's very rich. And then, the leather is perfect.
I love that one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sailor and I just did an event for them in downtown Miami.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So we do stuff for them, but always get positive feedback on
it's
291.
really good.
Yeah.
I really like this one. Okay, good. Yeah. Love it.
So I like your shirt, by the way.
Thank you so
it's
much.
awesome.
Very cool. Kick-ass cocktails. I can't wait to make my my tropical whiskey drink. I don't think I've ever really tried one like that, so I'm excited for that.
You'll enjoy it. It's super yummy.
She needs one of your Women of Rock cocktails, Sailor.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about like all the stuff. It was like a buzz when I sent you that stuff. We had so much going on. So I was thinking about, I have a cocktail so I do a monthly subscription kit each month. And so
I saw that. Yeah.
It's a different theme. And so last month was Ladies of Rock, and I didn't have any left at the time. So I'll make up a batch though and send it to you. And it's inspired. There it is.
Okay.
So it's got Joni, of course, on Joan Jett on the label, and Tina Turner. And yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's super fun. Super fun. So the last question I'm going to ask you, and then I'll stop asking you questions. So we always ask everybody, beyond what's your favorite band, but like, who are your go-to, like they make you feel good, you always got to listen to them, whether it's like a guilty pleasure or not. I mean, you've talked about who your influences are. And then is there anything new that you listen to? Like I said, I am so out of the loop with new music. I'm the worst. about new music. So is there anything new that you're like, everybody should really know this band?
Okay, I don't listen to a lot of new stuff. However, I will say when I'm working, doing rock camp work, I put on Spotify radio, like chill mix stuff, which is, I know, totally not rock and roll, but I can't listen to rock and roll when I'm writing an email because it's just too distracting for me. So there's a lot of new like chill artists that I really like. But as far as new rock, I mean, new, I don't listen to a ton, but I do hear stuff I like on, KLOS and stuff like that, and, new music. But there's no new band that I really follow, like that I would, fly anywhere to see. It's not that kind of dedication right now.
We don't have any of those either. So
we don't either.
I know. I wish I did.
Yeah.
I want that again. Yeah. So I don't know. I know I don't have a great answer for that. Sorry. But I do have the guilty pleasure answers. I mean, speaking of Sinatra earlier with Jack Daniels, I listen to him all the time. I listen to all the Rat Pack stuff, especially when I'm like cooking Italian meals or something like that.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm cruising in the GTO, I like to crank Beach Boys. That is just feel good, top down, summertime. But I mean, just anything to feel good is always, AC/DC and Van Halen and who else do I love to just listen to? I love Eric Johnson. I like to crank that just for like, it's just, I don't know, it relaxes me. Who else? Trying to think of some weird ones. I listen to a lot of jazz too.
Okay.
So because I'm always working, so I get a lot of work done when I listen to jazz.
There's a lot of jazz influence in metal. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I listen to a ton of jazz as well, especially when it's funny that you say the chill mix, because my husband and I found this, what is it called? It's called, I think it's called Chill Mix Instrumental on Spotify, and it has like a little
I think I know that one.
With the little umbrella thing.
Yeah, I know that one.
God. Chill Out Instrumental, and it has like
Chill
a little
Out,
umbrella.
Yes.
We are obsessed with that. And every once in a while I'll be like, oh, what's this? And I'll kind of look it up, and I'm going to pretend like I'm going to actually go listen to them or buy their music, and it just doesn't happen.
Right.
But the intention is there for sure.
Yeah.
But I also, when I'm writing, because I'm always writing cocktail recipes, or I'm writing, like menus, and I write for a whiskey magazine, it's always jazz that I put on. I can't have any vocals. It has to be just instrumental jazz.
Same.
Yeah. Important.
But are you guys any new bands that I should know about?
Actually, I was just thinking, and it happens to be the lead singer. Her first name is also Brittany. Her name, it's Brittany Slays. Actually, it says Brittany Hayes, but her stage name is Brittany Slays, and it's a Canadian band called Unleash the Archers.
Ooh, okay.
And they are a power metal band. Just search for Unleash the Archers Awakening specifically. Look for the video on the YouTube. The way it's done, the way it focuses on the players and their instruments, and it really highlights their musicality. And it is just awesome. And that kind of took me on this whole Unleash the Archers journey after I saw that. So yeah, you gotta look that up, and I'd be curious to see what you think. She would make a great addition to the Ladies Rock Camp too, I can tell you.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'll check it out. I look forward to listening to it. I'll let you know.
I do have a question for you, Britt. So
yeah,
the last Vixen album was released in 2006. Do you guys have any plans to write new music, get in the studio? If you can say anything. Yeah. Yes. Well, first of all, in 2018, we did release a live album. So I got you.
But it's a live album. But yes, we do have plans. We have been writing. Before COVID, we had quite a few writing sessions, and COVID really put a halt on our plans, just because we live all over the country. Like, I'm in LA, one's in Florida, one's in Detroit. Like, we're just very spread out. So it wasn't easy to collaborate. And nobody was really feeling super inspired to send files back and forth. We like to get all in a room together. We're very in-person people and feel the energy kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So we are back at it now. We have a couple. We got a lot of songs in the works. It's just a matter of paring them down and deciding when and where we're going to record. But we are working on it, and yeah, we're all very excited to release new music. So
Awesome.
I promise you, it will happen
Well,
soon.
That's awesome. I look forward to that.
I was
will.
wondering that myself.
Yes,
Yep.
I rarely buy new music. I know it's terrible, but I try to, I buy re-releases of like, the bands back in the day, but and I definitely I've been really good about once I learned and understood how streaming pay works, which sucks because I am a very digital person. I've always been on the road for my job. Or, I'm in a distillery all day, or I'm, traveling around the country talking about whiskey. And so for me, digital life was super important. I thought, oh, when streaming came along, like, fuck yeah, this is the best thing ever. Then understanding how terrible it is for the artists, what they make. So I try to be really good about, I'll Venmo or do like a band camp regularly. If I'm listening to someone regularly that I know is an independent, like, okay, I'm going to like hook you up and just give you some money because I'm listening to you regularly. But every once in a while, there's a few bands that, release new stuff from the old days. I'm like, I'll buy that. Even if I don't like it, I'll buy that. So yeah, I'll put it on my list for sure.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. I know the streaming is just not, you can't make the money you used to. I mean, some artists are, but yeah.
Yeah, you got to do like millions that, like millions and millions and millions of streams. It sucks because, I don't know if you watched it was the documentary about Napster. And then there was another one about LimeWire that came out. And I'm like, man, I feel like the artists really missed the boat with LimeWire. I think it was unfortunately just too early for artists to understand, like, it's too bad that there wasn't some type of like union at the time that could have like gotten together and made LimeWire like a co-op, because that would have been the opportunity. It could have been the biggest thing ever owned by artists. So you guys determined, what you got paid. And that would have been, I really hope something like that comes along one day where it's like, for the artists, from the artists, by the artists, and I would happily, subscribe to that every month and then pay. That's the other thing too. Like, charge me $1 every time I listen to this album. Like, I'm fine with that, but not if the $1 doesn't go to the band. I mean, right. You can take 10 cents out of it, but the rest needs to go to the band, because really, what the fuck are you doing? You're really not doing anything. So yeah, I really hope that changes one day. I think it would be huge because here we are. I was just thinking while you guys were talking about not really like into new bands, I'm thinking like, what's holding that back? That's everyone we talk to. I don't think it happened. God, who's been on the show that's been like, oh yeah, there's this new band, so and so. I don't even think that's happened yet. And I think too that it's just, I think it has a lot to do with it's so oversaturated. Like, I mean, when everybody just listened to the radio dictated what the top new bands were and they drilled them into your head. But nobody listens to the radio anymore. So the DJs aren't controlling that, and everybody can put their own music up anywhere. So you get a lot of shit, but then you get a lot of good stuff too, but it's hard to find the good stuff through all the shit. Yeah, and so it's like, I'm lost. I don't know where to begin. Like, Spotify is this endless rabbit hole. I just listen to what I know because it makes me happy, and I don't have time to sit around and weed through the garbage. Like, it's hard to find good stuff. But if somebody recommends something to me, I'm like, cool, I'll definitely go check it out. Like, I'm going to check out, this the Awakening song and everything like that. And but it's hard we're all so busy. It's hard to find it. It's hard to find it. That's and on the radio too. I'll turn on the radio every once in a while. I think it's like you forget, the pain. And I'll be like, oh, I haven't listened to the radio in a while. Maybe I'll hear a band I like. And then it's like, oh, we're still playing the Joker. Oh, okay. Or there's so many commercials and we're not used to commercials even anymore. And it's like, I can't listen to that. I'll just go back to my playlist that I listen to every single day. Yeah, the same fucking music. But also, like, when you do get past the commercials, it's still the same fucking, I swear to God, like, I lived down here in South Florida in like from 83 to like 87 or something. I don't even know. I don't even remember. I think it's still the same exact. I think this one station is playing the same exact thing they were playing back then. Like, I'm pretty sure it's exactly like they've just kept it in time. And it's like, that's great, but also play something different. Like, even from the same artist. Let's just pretend you're going to keep playing the same artist, but play different songs off that album. Like, I've heard, if I ever hear Stairway to Heaven again, I don't think I'll survive it. I just don't. I don't think I'll make it. I think it'll be like EKG. I just can't anymore, and I mean, Highway to Hell, that was ruined for me. But then when I turn off the radio and I'll go like months without listening to it, and then Highway to Hell comes on Spotify, I'm like, yeah, I'm like rocking out to it. I don't loathe it as much. So yeah, fuck everything.
Songs
basically.
can be overplayed for sure.
I know. And that's why we drink whiskey.
That's right.
There you go.
Yes, and I will say cheers to that. So
cheers. I'm gonna
cheers.
I'm gonna pour a little more of my 91 to toast you guys.
All right. Yeah. Thanks so much for spending time with us.
Wait, hold on. My Siri keeps turning on. Hold on, you guys are muted. Okay. Siri she keeps thinking I'm talking to her. Again, here it is.
Listen, bitch. It's not about you tonight.
It's not. Cheers.
So thank you for spending time with us tonight. And thank you for sharing your gifts with the world, too. That's super important, and we appreciate it. And it's always fun to meet a new fellow whiskey lover. So
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for the wonderful samples. And it's awesome to see you, a woman in a male-dominated industry, doing what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. And if the people want to find you on the socials, where and how can they find you?
Yes, BrittLightning.com, VixenOfficial.com. And then I am Britt Lightning on all social media. Britt with 2 T's. And lightning spelled like lightning, not lightening or lighting. You'd be surprised how many people are like, I emailed you at Britt Lighting. And I'm like, well, I'm not a lighting
Why would it be lighting?
I'm not a lamp company. Like, no.
Well, we'll make sure that we put links in the show notes as well. And if you ever want to come back on again with the band, maybe when your new album comes out, we would love to share it with our listeners. And I would love to talk to the ladies, especially the OGs from back when. And man, I think I was trying to like count up, and I do this every time. God, the 80s and the early 90s were such a clusterfuck, and I don't even know what was going on then, but I think I saw them 3 times in the 80s at some point. So
well, you're gonna have to see this new lineup. ASAP.
I would love to. Yeah, I would absolutely love to. I was actually, I'm gonna be following you guys to see what comes close to me, because that would be a blast. Yeah.
Awesome.
I've saw some concert footage, and you guys are great. I love the chemistry between you and the other ladies. It's fantastic. So that's, listeners, go look up Vixen on the YouTube. Look at some of their concerts. It'll make you want to go.
We'll put some links in the show notes for sure.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And as per usual, Matt and Ed are going to take us out of here. Then I'll have my special little ditty at the end. So that's it for me.
All right. Thanks, listeners. Hope you enjoyed that show as much as we did. You can find us on social media, on Instagram at Metal Rock and Whiskey. You can find us on Twitter at Metal Whiskey. And of course, you can find us individually. You can find me at The Whiskey Obsessor. That is Whiskey, save the E. You can see you YouTubers right there. You can see my name right there. And if you haven't yet, click that little bell below us here, somewhere, maybe over on that side. And you'll get notified every time we upload a new video. So subscribe, find us on the socials. Now.
Okay. I'm Sailor. You can find me all over the internet as Sailor Guevara. Ed?
And if they want to find me, they can usually see me hanging out on Instagram at Bourbon Geek. And hey, listeners, if you love us or even just like us, and after this show, if you don't love us, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Go fuck yourself.
Love
you guys.
So please tune in next week for another episode of Metal Rock and Whiskey.
And I think tonight I'm going to end the show with saying, fuck you, commercial radio.
Yeah. Cheers.
Bye-bye.